सीबीएसई इन न्यू इरा टुवर्ड्स एनईपी इसके आज के सेशन में सभी का भी स्वागत है। जो अभी जूम मीटिंग में आए हैं उनका भी सभी का स्वागत है। जो यूट्यूब लाइव से ऑल ओवर इंडिया, आउट ऑफ इंडिया जो अभी देख रहे हैं, वो पार्टिसिपेट हो रहे हैं, उनका भी सभी का स्वागत है। यूट्यूब स्टार्ट हो गया है। सुपरमैन की तरफ से मैं दया कुलकर्णी आप सभी का स्वागत करती हूँ। आज के जो अपने स्पीकर है भरणी मंथा, उनका भी मैं स्वागत करती हूँ। और आप इस आज का जो सेशन है सीबीएसई इन न्यू इरा टुवर्ड्स एनईपी, इस वेबिनार में मैं आप सभी स्टूडेंट, पेरेंट और सभी का मैं स्वागत करती हूँ। आज का वेबिनार जिन्होंने रखा है, जिसकी वजह से हम ये वेबिनार का लाभ ले रहे हैं, वो सुपरमाइंड के बारे में थोड़ा इंफॉर्मेशन देना मुझे जरूरी लगता है। सुपरमाइंड ऑर्गेनाइजेशन लास्ट 13 ईयर से एजुकेशन फील्ड में काम कर रही है और इसी का एक पार्ट अभी वेबिनार हम ले रहे हैं। वो वेबिनार है सीबीएसई इन न्यू इरा टुवर्ड्स एनईपी। अभी बहुत सारे चेंजेस हो रहे हैं सीबीएसई में। एनईपी नेशनल एजुकेशनल पॉलिसी 2020 इम्प्लीमेंट हो रही है। भरणी में मुझे बहुत सारे स्टूडेंट और पेरेंट मिल रहे हैं कि ये एनईपी इम्प्लीमेंट हो रही है यानी क्या हो रहा है। एनईपी इम्प्लीमेंट करना है यानी हर सब्जेक्ट का पेपर पैटर्न चेंज हो गया है। 10 का सीबीएसई का सिलेबस में कुछ चेंजेस हो रहे हैं, तो इसको स्टूडेंट और पेरेंट को कैसे फेस करना है, स्टूडेंट और पेरेंट को इसके लिए कैसे खुद को चेंज करना है, खुद को कैसे अपग्रेड करना है, इसके लिए ये सब्जेक्ट वाइज वेबिनार है। वो सब्जेक्ट वाइज वेबिनार सुपरमाइंड ने ऑर्गेनाइज करने की शुरुआत की है। मुझे लगता है सुपरमाइंड इज द फर्स्ट ऑर्गेनाइजेशन कि जिन्होंने इसके ऊपर स्टूडेंट और पेरेंट के लिए वेबिनार की शुरुआत की है। टीचर के लिए तो अभी ट्रेनिंग चल रहे हैं मेरे हिसाब से। आप भी स्कूल में है, आप भी ट्रेनिंग का एक पार्ट है, तो स्कूल टीचर्स के लिए ट्रेनिंग हो रहे हैं। लेकिन अभी ऐसा हो रहा है कि अप्रैल में सीबीएसई के स्कूल थे, सीबीएसई के स्कूल में उन्होंने स्टूडेंट को और पेरेंट को पता चला कि नहीं 23-24 में एनईपी तो इम्प्लीमेंट होने वाला है। लेकिन क्या होने वाला है, इसके लिए स्टूडेंट को कैसे प्रिपेयर करना है, स्टूडेंट को सेल्फ स्टडी यानी क्या करना है, इसके लिए ये हमने जो सेशन सब्जेक्ट वाइज सेशन है, वो सब्जेक्ट वाइज सेशन हमने रखे हैं। तो सुपरमाइंड का मैं पेरेंट और स्टूडेंट के तरफ से एग्जैक्टली मैं उनको थैंक यू बोलना चाहती हूँ कि सुपरमाइंड ने ये किया है। और उसमें आज आपको जो मिलने वाला है, तो उसमें है कि आपको कॉम्पिटेंसी बेस्ड क्वेश्चन कैसे आने वाले हैं, एप्लीकेशन और कंसेप्ट इन रियल लाइफ सिचुएशन, यानी उनको हम बोलते हैं कि असेसमेंट भी इस तरह से होने वाली है स्टूडेंट के एग्जाम में। यानी इंग्लिश में एग्जैक्टली क्या परिवर्तन अभी हो रहा है, इसके लिए हमको आज जो वैल्यूएबल गाइडेंस करने वाले हैं भरणी मंथा मैडम, तो मैं आपका फिर से एक बार स्वागत करती हूँ और मैं आपको निवेदन देती हूँ कि आप स्टूडेंट के लिए आपका बहुमूल्य मार्गदर्शन कीजिए। इसके पहले मैं मैडम का इन शॉर्ट इंट्रोडक्शन दे देती हूँ। मैडम 30 साल से टीचिंग फील्ड में, सीबीएसई टीचिंग फील्ड में कार्यरत है। मैडम एचओडी इन वन सीबीएसई स्कूल में एचओडी भी है और मॉडरेटर फ्रॉम लास्ट 10 years इन सीबीएसई स्कूल। तो ये आपका बहुमूल्य मार्गदर्शन आप स्टूडेंट को दे दीजिए, ऐसा मैं आपको रिक्वेस्ट करती हूँ। Thank you.
Thank you, Daya ma'am. So, good morning, everyone. I hope all are doing well, and thank you so much for joining over here. So, सबसे पहले, congratulations that you are in standard 10th. You know, that is very, very important. Yes. So, you being in standard 10th makes a big, big difference. Of course, when you talk about board exam, तो board exam is like, you know, big taboo. अरे बाप रे, board exam है. But remember, there's a big, big change. आप लोग अभी 21st century में जा रहे हो, So that's why the NEP has brought a great change in every subject. The first question जो आता है कि why is English important, right? तो generally हम लोग English को सबसे पीछे छोड़ देते हैं. Easy subject, can be done in the last moment, right? Anytime we can go with it. So it's like, we give more importance to math, science, SST, and other subjects, and we give less importance to English, Hindi, Marathi, or Sanskrit. As we think, yeah, it can be, read in a span of last 1 week or 4-5 days, that's more than enough. But dear children, you are absolutely wrong. Because when the NEP has introduced the competency-based questions, so to comprehend what they are giving in each subject, you need English. Now you take social studies, you take maths, you take science, the basic subjects, what you give a lot of importance. So nowadays, maximum questions are competency-based. They are case-based questions. And in the case-based questions, you have to understand the language. If you are unable to understand the language, what goes wrong is you are unable to give the answer. So one thing is very important. If you understand, if you read more of the language, the new vocabulary, definitely you are going to get full marks in other subjects also along with the language. So that's why language is very, very, very important, especially English, because the board has changed the entire pattern. And that's why we have to read and we have to answer. It's not a direct questions. As I go back in the previous years when we were students, it was all rote learning. So we used to learn the answers, go and pour it out. Khatam. So that was so easy for us. And based on that, we were getting jobs. But today, the scenario is totally different, right? So what is different is based on what you have learned is not required. Based on how you are creative, how you are problem solving, right? Or how much efforts you can put to bring out the novelty in the answer. Or what is the understanding level of a person is more important. So today, the jobs are based on these skills. Jobs are based on creativity. The right side of the brain has to be equally used along with the left side of the brain. Correct? As you know, left side is entirely academics. Right side is all thought-provoking questions. So both has to be balanced. So that's what is very, very important. So today we are going to go with few tips about the language, how to go with the language, right? First of all, love the language. If you love this language, definitely it will, of course, give you jobs in foreign countries. Along with that, it will enhance your vocabulary, right? Okay, ma'am, next slide, please. Right. First of all, I'll go with the basic things. What we talk about English is like when you're attempting the paper, it has to be in serial. Always go with section A, section B, section C, unless and until you don't know the section A properly or you are not quick in time management, then you can go with the grammar and then come back to the literature. Otherwise, preferably when you're writing in board exam, I would always suggest go in a same serial order, A, B, and C. And here, prescribed word limit is always there. So you have to remember, you can cross a little bit, but not less than that and not more than that. If it's a one-line answer, please write only one-line answer. Don't go with the extreme. It doesn't mean that you have to stop once the word limit is over. No, complete that sentence and then stop, because we have seen students doing that. As I said, I'm checking board papers from last 9 to 10 years. We often find different cases where children understand in a different way. Okay. And if I say it's 100 to 120 words, they'll stop wherever the 120 word is over. So please don't do that. Though it seems very funny, but yeah, children do that. Then whatever you write, as you underline the keywords in science and all, do underline in English also. Write the answer in the corresponding tense. Very, very important when you're writing an English paper. Your tense need to be proper. Don't mix up all tenses. Okay. When whatever tense you're going with, whatever the question has been asked, go accordingly. Your answer will be perfect. Then when you're writing, the content and everything need to be up to mark. That again come back to the comprehending of the question. Neatness and presentation is required. And of course, very soon you will be getting a new set of question papers. Already board has released few. That means the pattern has been changed a little bit compared to last year. So once you get it, you can go through those papers. Next slide, please, ma'am. There, ma'am. Just a minute, students. Is there any glitch?
Just a minute. Huh?
Yeah, no issues. Okay, meanwhile, I'll continue, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah. When you talk about the changes for classes 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, everywhere there is a change in the question paper pattern, right? And there are few minor changes compared to last year, because last year only we have changed a lot. Yeah, you can see here. So in 22-23, we have already introduced the competency-based questions, but the the weightage was a bit less. It was only 40%. And then after that, objective was 20%, and remaining we gave importance to the short answers and long answers. That was almost 40%. But this year, 23-24, we have increased the percentage to the other level. That means we are giving more importance to the competency focused questions. Right now, what is competency focused questions? Little bit I want to explain that. See, the CBSE has revamped its assessment practices for academic year, right? So we have introduced more competency based, as I told you, that is skill based questions, where there are thought provoking questions. It's not that directly you can learn and write it down. So rote learning we are avoiding over there. Then the development is a part of implementation of the NEP, because NEP want the new generation to be more proactive, right? They want them to do the observation. They want them to practically go with the things, understand it, create their own answers. And that's why it has become more and more challenging. So it focuses on the overall development, that is the creative and critical thinking of a child. So this will help the child to survive when you go to the higher levels. So there won't be any chance of failure anyway. That is the reason we have increased this competency focused questions. Now, what does it include? It includes the MCQs. Okay, it's like one questions and you have multiple choice questions. So that's MCQs. Then there are case-based questions on that. Then after that, you have source-based integrated questions. So all this, you can see that here it is given 50% weightage. Last time it was only 40%. Now we have gone with 50% weightage of this. Then the next question, when we talk about that, is selective response type questions. Of course, this also includes the objective questions and the MCQs, but here the weightage goes with 20%. So most of the time here we talk about the extract based questions from the literature side. Okay, maybe in the writing skill also they may give such type of questions where you have to take the right answers, right? So as we go with select responses, like it can be multiple choice, it can be fill in the blanks, it can be match the pairs, true or false, and of course one line answers. So depends. So every question will not be similar, but all these kind of questions will be there. So what happens many times, it's like you have to think out of the box and write it down. And to think out of the box, what is required is your creativity. What is required is your understanding capacity. And that's why, again, I go back, comprehending is important. Then only you can go with competency or select response type questions. What is actually there? Many times you feel that the answers are very similar to each other. So that's a big, big confusion. So what is required here? There's decision-making skills. So CBSE is introducing NEP for the same reason, that one has to think a lot. Manthan जिसे कहते हैं ना, you have to think over it and then find out what is absolutely the right answer, because there will be only one right answers. There won't be many. but everything seemed to be very, very similar. So what is required is understanding, thinking, then again interpreting, and then giving back your answer. And the last one here what to talk about is constructed response questions. That is the literature part what I'm talking about, which is only now 30%, which includes again short answer type questions from your both the books, First Flight and the other one, Footprints Without Feet, and right. And based on that, you have short answer type. I'll always show you that. And after that, there is a 6-mark question, which is again competency based, but then yes, there is a different response. It can be either in the form of a letter, it can be a diary entry, it can be a dialogue writing, it can be a character sketch, or it can be your own interpretation that this is a proverb given. Based on that, you have to write down the answer. Right? So everything is changed. Everything is constructive. It is nothing that you just learn and write it down. So actually speaking, now English has become difficult. But then on the other hand, the language English is helping you to solve science, maths, SST. Because if you are very good in the languages, definitely those 3 subjects will help you to understand the questions framed in that. That's why we talk about the case-based questions. Okay. Ma'am, next slide. Okay. So this is a small pamphlet or leaflet, I would say. This is published by the CBSE, right? The bluer one is for the 9th standard. This I'm not reading about, but I'll just go with the purple one. If you can see here, language and literature 23-24. So in short, the first question goes with discursive passage, that is 400 to 450 words, right? It's again 10 marks. And the second is case-based questions. Now here you have again, it can be an MCQ, it can be a fill in the blanks, it can be a meaning, or it can be like they'll give you a word. And based on that, they will give you 4 different definitions based on the word. You have to choose the right one. Okay, so unless and until you understand the meaning of the word which is given, you can't choose a definition over there. So this is again comes with competency based. So prior it was like when you talk about comprehension, we say English is so easy. You know? So we'll just comprehensions, no need to study, grammar, no need to study, writing skills, no need to study. Just go, whatever comes you write down. What you're short about is only literature, because that you study, that you learn, and that you have to write. But because we have to change our attitude, we have to go with the 21st century skills, everything has been changed over here. So the when you talk about comprehensions, they are not giving comprehensions of 10th standard level. They give comprehensions of IELTS, that standard of level. Just imagine the language. It's really difficult. To understand a comprehension, you at least require 10 minutes to read. And how it is possible is like more and more solving of comprehensions will help you in your exam to read the comprehension in just 5 to 7 minutes. But if you leave the comprehension and you feel that only during the exam I'm going to study, it's difficult because the language you are unable to understand. Even the best of the best students needs to have practice of that. And definitely I would say practice makes man perfect, but I would say what? A better practice, a perfect practice makes a man perfect. Little bit change of definition. Just practicing will not help. Understanding, comprehending, finding out what it is, what they're asking for is important. So the first thing is you need to practice the comprehensions very, very well. Don't wait till your final exams or your pre-mid exams. You have to practice a lot. And this practice will help you to understand a case-based question. Okay, children. Of course, the marking scheme is also there. Then when you come to grammar and creative skills, yeah, again, grammar is same what you had in the 9th standard. There's no difference. The pattern is also same, right? Though they give gap filling, editing, omission, reordering, and many a times they give the same thing in the form of do as directed. And based on this, the criteria is given like how many marks for what type of question. So you have even direct, indirect speech over here. So that all comes in grammar, which is for 10 marks. Again, practice is important. Recently, what I found is grammar questions, rather than giving from any Wren and Martin or any other book, they are giving from the textbook only. Any sentence from the textbook, they'll pick up and say, convert into indirect speech. Or they will say, there is an error over here, find the error, right? But unless and until you read the textbook thoroughly, it is your Bible, it is your Gita, it is your Puran, your textbook is important. Remember, any subject, textbook is main. CBSE doesn't give anything out of the box. It is the textbook which you have to follow, correct? For comprehension, it's okay. But grammar and also many things they give from the textbook only. So if you are thorough with the textbook, definitely you know that this line contains what, where is the mistake, and how to go with it. Okay. When you talk about creative writing, of course, you know that letter writing is there and analytical paragraph. In the next few slides, I'll explain you how to write that also. Then we talk about literature. Though we say literature is 40 marks, but here when you see the first two extracts, one is from the poetry, that's the prose poetry, sorry, prose and reader. You don't have a drama, so it's reader. And the second one is completely from poetry. You have a choice, any one you have to do, and that goes for 5 marks. But here also these 5 marks is again based on competency. It's not direct answers. Okay. So they may give any 4 sentences, or they may give pictures and you need to find out what is the right picture over there. They may give you true or false, fill in the blanks, anything which helps you to think and write the answer. One thing, in analytical paragraph, you will be having a choice, 1 out of 2, whereas letter writing, it is 1 out of 1. I mean, only 1 letter will be given. There is no choice, only 1. Okay, that's what till now we have received from the board. So letter also, I'll later tell you what kind of letters are there. And when you come down here, short answer type questions, it is 4 out of 5. That is again 40 to 50 words. Very important. Don't go for short answers. When it is 40 to 50 words, your answer need to be that much, minimum half page, wherein you are explaining everything in and out of what the question has been asked about. Here also, it can be creative, it can be competency based, or sometimes it can be a direct answer also. Okay, so nothing is like what you have learned will come. It is what you have understood and what you can interpret has to be there. Okay, so first flight and footprints, from both the things you will be getting the questions. And then when I talk about long answer, which is 100 to 120 words, it's a 6-mark question. So here you have to prepare very well. I said that nowadays they're giving a lot of dialogue writing. So that dialogue writing doesn't mean it's very easy. You can just write, hi, how are you? Where have you gone? No, there is an interpretation of every dialogue. If it goes wrong, your 6 marks are gone. And each one has a criteria. If I'm talking about 6 marks, it is again bifurcated. There are rubrics based on which we check the answer. Okay, so if it is 6 marks, I would say 3 marks I'll go for content, 2 marks I'll be going for expression, and 1 mark maybe for the vocabulary or grammar. So in this way, we divide every answer. Even your 3-mark question goes with the same. 2 mark is content and 1 mark is expression. How you have expressed, how you started your question, how you took your question, the fluency I talk about, and how you ended the answer. It's very important. Children, when you just go and purchase a novel or a book, what do you see first? The cover page. What impresses you first is the cover page, right? Then you turn the book and see what is written at the back. That is, who is the author, little bit about the author. Okay, you're a little bit satisfied. Then you open the first page, you read the preface. Preface is what? In short, what the book is about. Then you get satisfied and continue to read or purchase the book, correct? Same way, when you write a letter, when you write an analytical paragraph, or when you write any answer, your first line and the last line are very, very important. These are the punchlines. First impression goes there only, like how you have presented your answer. Have you started with a proverb? Or have you taken something directly? You cannot write an answer. I think this has happened. No, there is a format. So that professional way of writing, will definitely impress the person who is checking your paper. Most important is that, right? So he has to be influenced by the way you have presented your paper. And definitely that makes a difference. Even somewhere, if you're losing a mark, the person will think, okay, this has been so well presented, so well articulated. So why should I cut the marks? So you have to write your paper in such a way that the thought arises in the mind of the examiner, ki, no, Baba, I think itna acha likha hai, so I should not cut the mark over here. This is how your presentation has to be. Okay. And then internal assessment, when you talk about, the school has 20 marks, correct? So here also you need to be actually alert to grab those marks. So what is importance? Periodic test. You have pen paper test. That is, in some places they say P1, P2, P3, P4, right? Or generally we called as pre-mid, midterm, then post-mid, and then the final exam. So best of the 3 exams, final is not in our hands, but best of the first 3 exams. Out of that, we take 2, and that is for 5 marks. Okay. Then comes MA. MA is like oral test, observations, class discussions, visual representation. This is again multidisciplinary activities, which is again for 5 marks. Portfolio. So your notebooks should be very neat and clean, classwork, your projects, and of course your behavior, all that comes in the portfolio. So that also, this is how you have to grab your marks from your teachers, from your school, because these 20 marks are very, very important. It is in your hands. It's not in anybody else's hands. And the last one, when you talk about SEA, SEA is subject enrichment activity. Wherein it is for other subjects, it's like any projects and all, but for English, Hindi, Marathi, and Sanskrit, it is ASL. I think you all know very well about ASL. That is assessment to speaking and listening skills. So this is done once in a year. In some schools, they do twice, but here also be prepared when you're giving, it's like a topic which you have to speak about. So here you get 5 marks. So I would say these 20 marks are in your hand, which again, you have to work hard and get it. So if 20 is solid in your hands, you have to only aspire for the 80. That would help. Below that, I would say the lessons are given, like what is omitted. So only 2 topics in the first flight is omitted. That is 100 dresses 1 and 100 dresses 2. These 2 lessons were omitted last year also. In poem, we have omitted 1 poem, that is animals. And in reader, again, the hack driver has been omitted. Rest all portion is same, the same we had last year also. Okay, ma'am, next slide. Okay, so now I'll give some tips. As I said, reading, comprehension, very important. I've already told, develop reading. I know you all people love to read novels and all those things, correct? You read novels, you read storybooks, you read newspaper. So it's not just reading. It's not reading for fun. Whatever you read, understand it. Always keep a dictionary with you, right? You didn't get that word immediately, go with it. This is how you develop a reading habit, okay? Everyday reading. But then your textbook, you have to take it as a reading material. Read every day. If you read a lesson at least 3 to 4 times, there are very few lessons, right? The entire year is there. If you read a lesson at least 3 to 4 times, you will really understand in and out of the lesson what it is. So your comprehending skills, starts from there. What if the ending should be different? What if this character takes the other role? Give thought to your, give food to your thought. This is how you have to write your answers. If suppose this happens, what would you do? If you are in the place of this character, how would it help? And how could you relate this with real life situations? This is what NEP talks about. They can give you any type of questions asking you that. So reading is important. Definitely when it comes to comprehension over here, I would say read the passage at least. That quick reading will help you to read 3 times. First time it will then be a normal reading. Maybe children who are very good at comprehending can quickly catch it up and go with the answers. Whereas for a normal student, at least 2 times reading is important. read it twice, then go with the questions, then come back to the passage again and then understand. So identify the main points, what they're asking about. Then for this, of course, as I said, vocabulary is very, very important, because sometimes you don't understand what the question has been asked. But if you read the before line and the after line, probably you will understand that particular word, what it is. So many times I've seen children just leave that answer without writing. They have not understood. But I would always say, at least try. At least comprehend what the entire particular passage talks about. Maybe you will get an answer. Okay, that's what I've given in the last slide. Last point over here. Next, ma'am. Okay, so then I'll talk about comprehension before ma'am changes the slide. So here, as we talked about, like there are two passages which is given in your exam. One is factual based, which is again for 10 marks, and case based. So as I told prior only, what kind of questions can be given over there? It's all multiple choice questions, maybe one line answers, maybe match the pairs, or maybe some definitions written by some great authors, which you have to really check it out. And one more tip I would give when you talk about comprehension, it's like, there will be 12 questions given. So solve all the 12, because there's no negative marking. So maybe if something goes wrong in the middle, at least you can, if you're solving all the 12 questions, you will get the marks. Or maybe sometimes on the board, a question is given wrong, an answer is given wrong. Okay, if the answer is given wrong, definitely there is a possibility of getting the marks because it has been given wrong from the board itself. So there's a possibility. So never leave unattempted. Write everything what you know. Okay. So here you'd see grammar. So grammar, as I told, consists of 10 questions. It is 10 marks. So it includes tenses, subject, verb, conquered, determiners, models, reported speech, right? But this all can be again given in a different form. As I told you prior also, it can be given from the textbook also. Any sentence from the textbook, it can be Nelson Mandela's lesson, it can be Lenchu's lesson. They will give it and then you have to find what tense it is, right? So this also a proper practice is required. Solve as many papers as you can, right? So that you won't lose even a single mark. English is like, now we are talking about like 70% almost we are talking about is objectives, right? So more practice given to that, more creativity, thoughts of that, and definitely you will score marks in that. Okay, ma'am, next slide. Okay, meanwhile, I'll go with it. So when we talk about grammar again, solve grammar by reading the question thoroughly, carefully, and understanding the meaning. Everywhere, never ever be in a hurry. Never think, I know this. Arey, grammar bahut easy hai. Hoga easy, but for few. But don't take it as granted. Everything what is given is important. That's why it's in your exam. Correct. So even when you solve grammar, a minute mistake will go. Grammar is like either 1 or 0. It's never half over there. Maybe in school, you might be given half when you go and fight ki ma'am marks de do. But in general, when you speak, if you talk about grammar, it is either 1 mark or it is 0. So why to get 0? So take time, think of it, and then solve it. Understand. Do not fill in the blanks randomly without comprehending the question. Yeah, understanding the question. See, everywhere I'm talking the same thing. Comprehend, comprehend, comprehend. Because here, what you have to use your brains. So you have to understand. Even if you're doing fill in the blanks, don't randomly write. Understand what it is. Read the words, phrases to write grammatically accurate sentences. Your sentence may not go wrong. Many times what we have seen is people just copy down, and even by copying also they do wrong copy. When we talk about English, definitely every spelling need to be perfect. But while copying down, if you are writing wrong spellings, definitely we need to have a check on that. Correct? So nothing is easy. Everything needs efforts, whether it is grammar, whether it is comprehensions, whether it's question answers, unless and until you put your efforts, it won't work out. So again, practice, practice, practice. Okay, next. Okay, I'll go. Next, we are talking about writing skills. When we talk about writing skills, like, you have two writing skills. One is a formal letter, which is for 5 marks, and the other one is analytical paragraph. So when you talk about a formal letter, as we have seen right now, what pattern we have received, that there won't be any choice. One question is there, so you have to write one question. Now, this letter writing can be based on any situation. It can be like a complaint letter. It can be a order letter, right? It can be then inquiry letter or a letter to editor. So these are generally the 4 aspects what we talk about. Based on this letter, any one letter can be given. Most of the time they go for what you say is editor, letter to editor. So when you write, I'll come to that. The next slide is about the same thing. When you write a letter to editor, whatever is important, how you start a letter is important. Directly, you cannot say, I'm so-and-so belonging to so-and-so place. There is a format to write a letter, correct? So when you go with the format, you get full marks. Even in letter writing, we do get full marks, correct? So, ma'am, can we go with the next slide? Possible?
थोडासा इश्यू येतोय स्लाइड पुढे जाण्यासाठी. I'm trying.
Yeah, I'm going. I have in my mobile. I'm going with that.
Yeah,
not an issue. Shall I continue? Okay, friends, you need to cooperate.
Yes, ma'am. Please continue.
Yeah.
We'll try.
Yes. Okay, so when you talk about letter writing, as I was telling, letter to inquiry, your children, you can pen down what I'm saying. That would be easy, right? If you pen down, you can understand, and then you can come back to it. So when you talk about letter to inquiry, every letter need to be very, very polite, specific, straightforward. Oh, ma'am, don't go with the, what do you say, slideshow, but you can directly.
Yes, sure.
That would help,
Check.
maybe. So I'm at letter writing. So it has to be polite, specific, straightforward, and it needs to maintain interest level. After this, ma'am, next slide. Right. So when you talk about letter to editor, now you're talking letter to editor is generally what you talk about flexibility. Now you're writing to some newspaper person. So there should be flexibility. There should be evidence what you're talking about. Direct language, arguments, suggest solutions, and all. So everything what you talk about is letter to editor, like through this column of yours. You need to go in that way. So there is a specification of writing a letter. So when you are going with letter to place order, again, clear, concise, polite. Every letter, if you see that polite word is common, correct? Though it's an inquiry, though it's an order, though it's editor, though it's a complaint. Even if you're complaining to that person, you can directly not use abusive or informal language. You have to be very polite because you're putting up your point over there. And then the language used to be very good. Then you can argue with them. Then you can write whatever you require. So you can just have a read of all these 4 things, right? Even when you're talking about complaint, you need to tell the problem, give the details. Even you need to write the invoice number over there. And you can also give suggestions. Your letter always needs suggestions. And okay, ma'am, next slide. Yes. So when you come to here, format, when I talk about format, it plays an important role in scoring marks. When you talk about letter writing, it's 5 marks. Out of this 5 marks, 1 mark is for format. Format is what? Your address, then the date, then the other, to whom you're sending, then the salutation, then 3 paragraphs of the letter and the conclusion. This all. The first 3 and the last one goes with the format. This entire format is 1 mark. Generally, you need to score that 1 mark. Even the date also need to be specifically written. If it is, what is today's date? I think it is 30th April. So you have to write 3030, then April, then 2023. You're not writing 30th. TH is not required. 3030 April and today's year, 2023. Date has to be specific. No slashes, no dashes. Again, your marks are cut for that. Anything you miss out in the format, you will lose your marks. Okay. Plan, organize, and present ideas with grammatical accuracy, appropriate words, spellings. What words you are supposed to use, you need to prepare it prior. Now, it's a good thing that CBSE tells you that these 4 types of letters will be there. So why not practice it a lot? Lot of practice of each variety of that, each genre of that letter will help you, make you perfect. And it also saves your time. At that time, you know, yeah, I'm supposed to write to this letter to this person. You know the format, you know what has to be written. Only the names need to be changed and you can present it out. So your planning need to be prior. The entire what you're talking about, your planning has to be like that. Based on that, you have to just apply over there. But don't wait till the last moment. Yeah, I know letter writing. And then you start writing thinking what it is. Your time will be wasted. So again, time management comes over here. Then give importance to format, content, expression, fluency, conclusion. As you know, the letter is in 3 parts. So first one you talk about is your introduction. Very important. Intro part. What you are talking about. Then you come to the body. When you talk about the body is like, what is there? What is the actual problem you're talking about? What happened, when happened, why it has happened, all those things. And the last paragraph when you talk about is conclusion, what you want from that, right? Along with the conclusion, you can give suggestions also. You're concluding, you are giving suggestions also because that makes a difference. So these 3, you cannot write a letter in a flow. It has to be divided into 3 parts. Right? That's how your package goes. 3 paragraphs. Above that is your sender, receiver address, date, then subject and salutation. And below the last paragraph, it is like thanking you. Most of the time used yours sincerely. Okay. Sometimes faithfully. And then end it up with your name and all. Sincerely is like, it's commonly accepted word. Okay. Then in the letter, have a clear understanding of what to write first, second, and third paragraph. As I told you right now, you should know what has to be in the first, what has to be in the second, what has to be in the third paragraph. You cannot put a conclusion in the first paragraph. You can't put intro in the middle paragraph. So this is how you have to prepare. And how you would prefer is every day writing a letter. So write and read first and then write the letters. Use all the last year's papers, solve papers, how they have written, or Supermind will help you with a lot of material and all. So that will really help you to make perfect. Now it's very good that we are in the beginning of the year. So entire year is there to do a lot of practice. And definitely by the time you write your board exams, you will be a pro in this. Okay. So next we come to the analytical paragraph. Right? Ma'am, next slide. Now, when you talk about analytical paragraph, it means analyzing. Right? We do analyze. We have a habit of analyzing a lot of things. Kyun, kaise, kis liye, comparison, and a lot of things we do analyze in our day-to-day life. So CBSE thinks like, why not put it as a question so that you start interpreting. Okay. So you will again start thinking about it, like how and what comes in that. So generally, when you talk about analytical paragraph, it's based on maps. It's based on chart, then report writing, some graphs, and many times some cues are given, or sometimes a small, extract from a newspaper is given, and based on that, the entire paragraph has to be written, right? So you have to analyze. Many times you have to compare between 2 graphs. Like I would say in this particular school, this many students study this subjects. In the other school, these are studying. So how would you compare them? So you have to write a paragraph. 1 paragraph you have to write based on that. It also has a structure. Analytical paragraph is 1 big paragraph which has a structure. Here also we talk about the introduction. We talk Introduction is about the theme, that this pie chart talks about so and so. So that's what the theme says about. Then we talk about the body, that is elaborating the analysis. Whatever is given in the graph, whatever is given in the map or the pie diagram, or you can say the bar graphs and all. So based on the data given, you are writing your paragraph. Remember, you have to use the data. Analytical paragraph always says don't use your own brains over there. You have to use the words used for comparison. Higher, lower, okay, it's mediocre, it's similar. That kind of words have to be used where you are judging out something. It's a creativity. And again, I talk about a critical thinking over there, how you put it. Okay, so that is what is important in analytical. So whatever is given, you have to go with it. Sometimes they give you a picture also, and based on 2 pictures, you have to think and write. And conclusion is must. When you talk about analytical, conclusion is you have to give a conclusion. Okay, what you have interpreted, that is what is your conclusion. Never write your own ideas unless and until they ask you to write. Sometimes they do. In some of the questions, they ask you, okay, this is the data given. Now you interpret yourself and you write down your own opinion. Then yes, you can write your opinion. Otherwise, your own opinions are not required. It's what you analyze, what you interpret, what is given over there, and how you make a paragraph, how you write about it, what you have understood from that. Already given data, you have to understand and you have to write down. That's what is more important. Okay, so now I come to literature. Though it's given 40 marks over here, so I would say 10 marks here again goes with the multiple assessments, right? You know, it's like competency-based questions, that's MCQs and all, and those 10 marks are from your extract, right? And 30 marks is proper what you write. That is the theoretical-based questions. So again, literature, every lesson, as I told you, your literature book is your Bible, guide, Quran, sab kuch. Aapka sab kuch wahi hai. No need to go anywhere extra. If you are thorough with your lessons and poems, word by word, meanings, then figure of speech of all the poetic devices, everything. If you are thorough with it, definitely, actually, I would say no need to, go for any other resource book also. Memorize the names of the chapters, their authors, because when you write down your answers, it is required. Always remember when you're talking about a particular poetry and also that central theme is very important. Central idea, summary, you should know about it. Answers basis on information, interpretation, comprehension. Again, the same 3 words we are using. Then what is seen? When I'm talking about short answers and all, what is seen over here is like how you are relevant, how you are relevant with the language and with the data given over there, or what is your understanding based on that particular question, right? So as we talk about English, so definitely spellings are important. Work on your spellings, that's again good, right? Now we come to extract from textbook, the next slide. So 2 extract from prose or reader will be given. So any one you have to attempt, 5 marks. Poetry, 2 poems will be given. Any one you have to attempt, 5 marks. As I was talking, these 5 marks can be 1-line answers, can be fill in the blanks, can be a diagram, some photos given, you have to select the right one. Or it can be some thought-provoking question. It can be a meaning or a synonym of that word. So it's all, again, competency-based. Okay. Next slide, ma'am. Okay. We come back to literature, which is exactly 30 marks. So first one goes with any 4 questions, 40 to 50 words from the first slide. That is your main literature book. So here you have to write 4 questions, which each question carries 3 marks. Again, sometimes they give a direct question because CBSE also thinks about the children who are a little bit weak in the language. maybe what you can say, multilingual languages, or from the remote areas, they need to really struggle with the language. So one question or two questions can be like, direct answers. But then most of the time they compare. Now, the new things, if you see all these questions, whether it's from reader or first light or a 6-mark question, what CBSE has started from last year is a comparison of the lessons. Interestingly, I would say, like, if you pick up from one lesson, there are so many lessons. You can't give justification to each lesson. So a wonderful thought what they have brought us, they'll compare 2 lessons. Okay, suppose if I want to put the base of education, then I would take Nelson Mandela's, freedom. I would take freedom from Nelson Mandela. And there was one more poem of animals, right? Animal in a zoo, tiger in a zoo, sorry. So comparison of these two, we talk about freedom. Or I would take Nelson Mandela's lesson and I would take Anne Frank's lesson, and I'll compare what does freedom mean to both the characters. Children, now this you have to think a lot. It's just not reading a lesson. It's like, how could you compare these 2 lessons? It can be based on education. It can be based on freedom. It can be based on any life and death situation. You have a lesson of sermon and Banaras, right? Buddha's lesson. That can be compared with another poem, the ball poem, where there is a loss. There's a loss of ball, and in sermon at Banaras, there is a loss of human being. So how do you compare those 2 losses? One is a boy of, hardly 8 years old who have lost, and one is a mother who has lost her son. So what is the grief over there? How would you recover from that? Now, this is very, very practical based questions. This is what every day in our life, what you think about. So even though we talk about literature, rote learning will not help you here also, right? So you have to work in there that way. Right now, you might have just gone with 2 lessons. That what might have your teachers taught in the month of April, right? In the coming months, whenever you're going with a new lesson, start thinking, okay, how can this lesson be compared to that? How can this character be compared to that? That's how the questions are being given. Already last year, they have started. So this year would be more of it, right? So you have to always be on your toes thinking, okay, what could happen here? How could you, and then this particular situation, how would you put in your life? If you are in that place, how would you react? It can be, personal questions also. They may give the same situation and they say, come on, change the ending of this. Or they may say, if you are over there, what could be your thought process? So all these questions, what I talk about literature, won't be direct. Though they relate to the lesson, somewhere along with the lesson, they relate to you also, your thinking process also. So this is what you have to understand. Whenever you're reading, now it has to be very, very alert-mindedness, right? So while reading every sentence of the textbook of a lesson, always start relating with the other lessons which you have already read. You can make your own questions. Okay, how can they be correlated? Because that's what is CBSE, what it talks about. It's all comprehending, it's all competency-based, it's all critical thinking, analytical thinking. Your Bloom's taxonomy comes over here. Every way of thinking and then presenting. Not only I'm talking about English, your all subjects also, you have the same kind of questions. So definitely speaking, I won't say it is difficult, yeah, but I would say like you need to be a great thinker. You need to use a lot of your right side brain to find out. It should be always to find out. I know you children love a lot of suspenses. You love a lot of things to start or, invent. So better invent different type of questions over here. You may get bit in last year's papers also, but I would definitely say that start thinking more and more about it. Okay, what can be the difference? Why this is different from that, or why it is similar to this? Same in reader also. In the reader book also, every lesson is a complementary to the other lesson. So how would you complement those similar characters or similar values? And how can you inculcate in your life? So that could be a kind of questions. Prior, it was like, only a character sketch or a plot out of which you have to write. But the NEP says, don't give everything on platter. So start thinking. And really, it's beautiful the way they are really changing the syllabus is like same syllabus, but the concept is different. Okay. Next slide, ma'am. Yeah, I would say, ma'am, you need to click so that the time comes. Okay, little bit about this, like passage one. This is, of course, you need to have a practice, minimum 15 minutes. It's possible for 15 minutes if you practice from day one. Otherwise, 15 minutes you will take only to read for the first time. This is what I face with my students, right? But generally speaking, when in an exam you sit for an 80 marks paper, only 30 minutes you have to give for comprehension. Passage 1 is 15, passage 2 is 15. Grammar and writing, I would say grammar 15 minutes is actually more than enough. But then letter writing, you will take 15 minutes and analytical 15 minutes only and only when you have practiced it a lot. Otherwise, at that moment, if you start thinking where to write, what to write, how to write, it would be difficult. And one more thing in letter writing, I want to make it clear is when they talk about letter to editor, if they say about national newspaper, it's Times of India, Hindu, Hitwada, that's the Indian Express, these are the national newspapers. Or if they say famous newspapers, yes. But when they say local newspaper, always go with Pune local newspapers. So what is that? Sakal, right? And few more papers, which is only printed in Pune. That is local. Understand between local and national and famous. If you jumble up over there, it will be difficult. And don't go with only 1-2 line address, proper address you can write. Don't go for pin codes, you may go wrong, right? Then literature and reader, I have given 95 minutes because for prose and poetry, I have given 10 minutes over here. But you may finish in 7 and 8 minutes. It's again objectives. But then you need to be thorough with that. Then for 40 to 50 words, it's 25 minutes I've given for the prose one. And 40 to 50 words reader, it's 20 minutes. I think there is one more patch, ma'am, 6 mark question ka. One more click. Yeah. So 100 to 120 words, I've given 15 and 15 minutes. I mean, 15 minutes to write down the entire answer. And for that also, I would say use a mind map. Children, for every question or every lesson, draw a mind map. Mind map, you know very well. Like what are the important points of the lesson? When you draw them, that mind map, it will help you to write your answer faster. So even when you go with a 6 marks question, as soon as you look at the question, you can take a pencil and just draw down over there. Okay, these are the points which covers this answer, and then start elaborating it. That is a good practice. The mind map will help you to write your answer faster, and it will always make you to remember also. Even in your school also, even in your notebook also, if your school allows, do draw a mind map. Okay, I have learned this from the lesson. I know these are the important points. That is all the different parts of the lesson. And then later elaborate. And the map always helps you because, map guides you in the right way. Okay, the next slide. Yes. So where do you need to improve a lot? So presentation skills. First comes handwriting. So whenever we check the papers, often a handwriting impresses us a lot. Every teacher who sits there to check the board papers have to check almost 30-35 papers a day. And in that scenario, if your handwriting is not so good, so definitely the first impression goes over there. And definitely I would agree in some cases that handwriting makes a difference. If your paper presentation is very good, you're using it, one question, one page, there's ample, you have a 32 pages booklet. So don't be a miser. Write nicely, leave spaces. After every answer, draw a line, leave that space and make your presentation very well. Neatness is important. Don't cut your words in between. And again, two tips I'll tell you when you talk about neatness over here. Suppose you're writing a word and the last word in that sentence is practice, but you have written PRAC and the line is over, the space is not there. Then you come down and put a dash and write ICE. Never ever do that. If there's no space, leave that space. Come down and write practice fully. Because that's again a technique of writing a English paper. You cannot write half word in one place and half, though from ages people are writing like that. Okay, no need to save that space. Leave that space, come back, come down in the next line and write down the entire word practice. Same way, if I use the same word practice and instead of PRAC, you have written PRAS, and then you realize you have written a wrong spelling and you have scratched that S over there. Okay, uske upar aapne C likh diya, kuch likh diya, then again it's a wrong way of writing. What you have to do is cut the entire word, use a pencil, don't just scratch it over there. Use a pencil or pyar se ek line khich do usko, and then after that write practice, the right word. Okay, this again, when you're presenting an English paper, it has to be perfect. Okay, many times it doesn't happen, then don't make it shabby. Got it? You understood your spelling is wrong, then just scratch it, एक line ऐसे, and then after that write the entire spelling again. Don't put an arrow down and writing that word over there. No, that makes a difference. You know, it's not from your point of view, it's from our point of view when you're checking your papers. When you're looking at the book, when you're looking at the paper, what you have written. Spelling, corrections, vocabulary. Use very good vocabulary. You know, your textbook has good vocabulary. But then, whenever you're attempting something, try to find out the synonym of that word. You have Google, you have dictionaries, find a synonym of that word and use that synonym. What will it happen? You know, that will help the person to understand, ki, wow, what a presentation it was. What a kind of vocabulary the child has used. It makes a difference. Always remember, most of the time your answers are similar. Then why there is a difference that somebody is getting more marks, somebody is getting less mark? Answer can be same. Difference is your vocabulary. If you write a very simple language, or if you think in Marathi and just pen down in English, that will absolutely go wrong. So always when you're learning, have that, you know, urge to learn a new word. If it is written presentation, I need to just find out, okay, what could be the other word for presentation? Correct? And then I will use that word. So in this way, your vocabulary will increase. Definitely in the coming days, you will be learning more and more words. And even your teacher will be impressed with what kind of language has been used over there. Maybe later on in your speaking skills, this vocabulary will be seen. Okay, content, thorough reading of the book. Then, as I said, all this implement, lot of practice of the letter writing, lot of practice for the analytical paragraph, because every analytical paragraph is different. Maybe the starting is similar, but every question is different. So as many as you can practice, give your weekend time for letter writing or analytical paragraph. That will help you to become perfect. I want everybody to be perfect. And you can. This is not rocket science. Okay, you can do it. Only thing is you need that attention, that time to take for that, and practice. Practice will help you. As I said, all questions need to be written. Never, even if there is a choice, try to attempt all. Give importance to the lesson of reader also. Reader always is kept back because it's for self-study. But I would say ki, no. Even reader has that much of weightage and importance, because we do have questions of 3 marks from reader. We do have questions for 6 marks from reader. So it is, again, it's not a supplementary. It is something equal to the main textbook. Okay. Write answers in full sentence. Relate to logical things while writing 6-mark answers, because 6 marks can be, it can be a speech writing, it can be a debate writing, it can be a letter writing, it can be a diary entry, it can be a dialogue writing, it can be an article writing. वो कुछ भी दे सकते हैं. Do you have a choice? They can give a character sketch also. Character sketch doesn't mean to write the entire lesson. It is character. First the outer appearance, then the inner qualities. That's how you have to go with. Okay, I think we are done. One more slide is there, ma'am. There, ma'am?
Maybe there is problem for sharing, I think.
No, I think this is the last slide. Just let
Yeah.
me check. Let me check.
Okay.
Yeah, this is last. You can
Yes.
stop it.
Yeah.
Okay, children. So I have shared all this with you because I wanted to know that we adults, do not get to where we are today, right? And by being good at every subject and every activity in the school days, but still we lack a lot of things today. And today, schooling means exposure to all. It's not just a textbook. It's not just marks. It's an entire personality we are talking about. That's why we talk about this critical, comprehending, all these things. And every subject is attached with values and skills. So without a skill, it's very difficult to survive in this world. Marks are important, definitely important. But more than that, what is important is how you live a life. Okay, so all the best, 21st century kids. Over to you,
Thank you,
ma'am.
ma'am. Thank you. किसी को अगर कुछ डाउट है तो यू कैन पुट इट ऑन चैट बॉक्स. आपको कुछ डाउट है, कुछ पूछना है तो नेक्स्ट 5 मिनट्स वी कैन कंटिन्यू दिस मीटिंग. और आप मैडम से बात कर सकते हैं बिकॉज शी इज द मॉडरेटर. सो आपके पेपर चेकिंग के ऊपर जो मॉडरेशन रहता है उसके ऊपर मैम करने वाले हैं. तो आपको अगर कुछ डाउट है तो आप खुद को अनम्यूट करके पूछ सकते हैं. इसके पहले मैम ने आज जो सेशन में बोला, जो आपको गाइड किया सभी को हमको, उसमें एवरीथिंग इज कंस्ट्रक्टिव, thorough study. This is the summary, thorough study of the lesson, grammar also from the textbook. So textbook का thorough reading जो है वो करना जरूरी है. और इसके लिए सुपरमाइंड की टेस्ट सीरीज, क्योंकि सिर्फ reading is not sufficient, object oriented reading is very important. तो उसके लिए जो ऑब्जेक्ट है वो ऑब्जेक्ट सुपरमाइंड के पास है. सुपरमाइंड का टेस्ट सीरीज है, वो टेस्ट सीरीज एवरी लेसन पे टेस्ट सीरीज दिया है, उसका इवेल्युएशन है, उसका डिटेल मॉडल आंसर भी है. ग्रामर और राइटिंग स्किल के लिए भी सेपरेट क्वेश्चन पेपर उसमें इंक्लूड है. तो सुपरमाइंड के टेस्ट सीरीज के लिए आप जरूर कांटेक्ट कीजिए सुपरमाइंड के लिए. उसके नंबर जो है वो नंबर है 9049992809 और 08 और 7441741668 और 6665 चैट बॉक्स पे नंबर अभी हम दे रहे हैं. तो उसके ऊपर आप जरूर कांटेक्ट कर सकते हैं. आपको अगर इंग्लिश के कुछ डाउट है, कुछ पूछना है तो अभी खुद को अनम्यूट करके आप मैम को पूछ सकते हैं डेफिनेटली. सो आप सब स्टूडेंट और टीचर्स, कभी कोई टीचर्स भी इस सेशन में आए हैं तो टीचर, स्टूडेंट एंड पेरेंट और यूट्यूब में जो लाइव है उन सभी का मैं धन्यवाद देती हूँ. और नीड टू स्पीक विथ यू रिगार्डिंग द क्लास. ओके ओके. तो सभी का मैं आपको सभी को आप धन्यवाद देती हूँ. भरनी मैडम, आपने बहुत बहुत वैल्यूएबल गाइडेंस स्टूडेंट को किया, इसके लिए भी मैं धन्यवाद देती हूँ. चैट बॉक्स में मैम एक क्वेश्चन आया है, आर देयर एनी बुक्स टू रिफर फॉर लेटर राइटिंग एंड एनालिटिकल पैराग्राफ?
Yeah, there are. Just a minute, I'll give you the name.
और मुझे लगता है टेक्स्ट बुक का भी थरो स्टडी करना भी जरूरी है इसके लिए भी.
Just a minute.
Yes ma'am.
Yeah, and one more question I heard they asked whether we can use the correction pen. Actually, see, if your correction pen is clearly, if it erases it, it's fine. Whitener is not used. Okay, it should not be used over there. But then if there is an eraser which can erase that particular word using that ink, yes, it can be then used. I'm just finding that name.
Yes.
1 second.
So मैम ने जो अभी बोला कि राइटिंग स्किल के लिए रिक्वायर्ड प्रैक्टिस है और होल ईयर प्रैक्टिस इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. और दूसरा जो कंपैरेटिव क्वेश्चंस ऑन लेसन्स, तो इसके उसके हिसाब से हमको कोई भी जो लेसन है वो लेसन अभी ऑप्शन में डाल के नहीं चलेगा. हर एक लेसन का स्टडी करना बहुत जरूरी है. ये
Very important.
that is very important.
Okay, ma'am, it is like Saraswati Publications का है applied English, grammar and composition.
ओके 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 और सुपरमाइंड का जो भी टेस्ट सीरीज है उसमें भी हमने ग्रामर
grammar
और
is
राइटिंग
included.
स्किल के लिए अलग से पेपर दिए हैं प्रैक्टिस के लिए, और उसमें बहुत सारे सब्जेक्ट भी दिए, तो इसके लिए भी सुपरमाइंड टेस्ट सीरीज के लिए भी आप जरूर कांटेक्ट कर सकते हैं. कांटेक्ट नंबर आई रिपीट 74416665 एंड 6668. उसके ऊपर भी आप जरूर कांटेक्ट कर सकते हैं. दूसरा एक अनाउंसमेंट करना है कि नेक्स्ट सैटरडे को साइंस का भी सेम वेबिनार हम रखने वाले हैं, तो जरूर आप उसके लिए भी ज्वाइन होंगे. उसका जो लिंक रहेगी वो लिंक हम आपको शेयर करेंगे, तो इसके लिए भी हम आप कनेक्ट हो सकते हैं. किसी का और कनेक्शन? मैम Riya, thank you, ma'am. The session really helped us a lot. We will definitely implement the tips you told us. That is the
Thank you so
immediate
much.
reaction. अभी वो सेशन के बाद बहुत सारे स्टूडेंट के टीचर्स के फोन आते ही है, लेकिन this is the immediate reaction. Thank you, Riya. When the new CBSE NEP books are coming to the market, actually वो अभी आए हैं, मुझे लगता है. मैं अभी
It's there.
शॉप में गई थी. It's there. और अभी स्टूडेंट की शुरुआत इस तरफ से होने की जरूरत है. टीचर का जो रोल है, वो टीचर का रोल मैम मुझे लगता है टीचिंग करने का है, और अगर उनको मार्क में एनहांसमेंट करनी है, मार्क अपलिफ्ट करने हैं, तो स्टूडेंट को खुद को स्टडी करना ही जरूरी है. दैट इज सेल्फ स्टडी. अभी वो सेल्फ स्टडी कैसा करना है वो मैडम ने तो सब आपको इंग्लिश के टिप्स बता दिया है, और वो करने के लिए जो टूल चाहिए वो टूल है सुपरमाइंड की टेस्ट सीरीज. वो जो टेस्ट सीरीज है वो टेस्ट सीरीज के साथ which is based on textbook, because already ma'am told us that your textbook is your Bible, your Gita and all. So textbook ka thorough reading and thorough practice is very very important. So ma'am, many teachers are telling that boards may cancel in tense. So that is
No,
one.
not now. Probably next year, not now, because till now there is no such information.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
Directly, they won't cancel anything. So we have to be in the present right now. Don't be in the future. Okay. So
Yeah,
we have
for-
to
for-
prepare as it is.
Yeah, when we are thinking about, when we are talking about 23-24, there is a board.
There is.
Yeah. So that is the thing.
And
so
do really join this series, because we have given lot of questions in this. Chapter wise, that module has been made for in Supermind test series. So in every chapter, what different kind of questions can be implemented is there. So that would really help you a lot. You know, in all the other things, you will get only few questions, but here every chapter we are giving all varieties of questions.
Exactly.
So it could be MCQs, competency based, and everything what is there, I explained.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
Please join that.
So so practice is very 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 important. So that is the thing. So please contact to Supermind to enhance yourself. Same, Supermind is always with you from any kind of thing. So with this note, I think we stop here our this session, and next session is on 6th May for science. I will Supermind will send you. I will send you the details, the link to all the student and parent. And thank you again, Bharti ma'am, for your valuable support, and thank you Supermind also, because such a good guidance are giving to the student and the parent.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you
Thank
again.
you so much. Thank you, everyone. All the best.
Yes.